Thanks a lot. You also wanted, did you want to do your Dipnet?
I do. I understand ACs will have 5 minutes to deliver comments on proposals 200 and 201. Fairbanks Advisory Committee, one of our ACs has a slightly modified version of the amendment you've already heard about today on Proposal 200. We're not sure how Proposal 200 was generated, but the AC had very significant concerns that defining subsistence way of life as a long-term reliance on the fish and game resources to provide the basic necessities of life would be too restrictive. In fact, it would prevent this board, or maybe the Board of Game, who also has to deal with this joint board regulation, from ever approving another or a new subsistence fishery in the state. And in fact, if you were ever asked to revisit any of the existing subsistence fisheries, you'd have a very hard time under a restrictive definition of the subsistence way of life to find that any fishery statewide currently in 2010 is necessary for the basic necessities of anybody's life. And so we encourage the board in addressing 200 to either look at the amendment proposed by the Fairbanks Advisory Committee, which is only slightly different than the amendment proposed by the Alaska Outdoor Council, which is in PC 17, which is a way of life that is consistent with the long-term use of fish and game resources when available to supplement the basic necessities of life. Two simple modifiers: when available, because some fish and game resources aren't always available, and the board should recognize that, and to supplement the basic necessities of life. Much more accurately describes what most of us consider to be a subsistence way of life for Alaskans. We're sure we all have access to the fish market at Fred Meyer or Cars, but that's not access that most of us want to participate in. We like to supplement the food we buy at the grocery store with the food that's available to us in our natural waters. The primary opposition you'll find to finding a positive CNT for Chitina will come from the commercial fish industry and from OTNA and various groups affiliated with OTNA. Fairbanks Advisory Committee is concerned that the board, in adopting a restricted definition of the subsistence way of life and then focusing on the distance that we have to travel to the fishery or our relative affluence compared to maybe other communities or other users, you're going to be getting away from what the subsistence law is all about. And I encourage the board, the FAC encourages the board to read, in particular, PC 52. There's a great letter under PC 101 written by Jake Sprankle from Fairbanks, defining what he considers to be the subsistence way of life for him as a dipnetter in Chitina. Stan Bloom, the original author of proposal, I believe 40 or 41, that led to the 1999 positive CNT. Due to the 100-page limit, there's a condensed version of Stan Bloom's presentation to the 1999 board. And again, the law of the land as you sit here today is Chitina is a subsistence use. The Department of Law may disagree with me on this, but the court invalidated and reversed the 2003 decision for a negative CNT. The law of the land is a positive CNT. Chitina is a subsistence fishery right now, and we believe that the board should do what the 2003 board did and look at the question in the negative. That is, frame the question of a CNT in the negative as the 2003 board has done. Also, we asked you to look at PC 140 and 143. In particular, pay attention to the Madison decision. And just briefly to wrap things up, the fish in Chitina have been customary and traditionally used for subsistence every year without fail since it documented, at least in the 1800s, and probably going back hundreds of years from there. The only question that this board has to deal with, the previous boards have dealt with, is can a subsistence fishery, once established, change into a personal use fishery simply because of the changing faces of the participants? The OTNA will say we were displaced from that area in the 40s and 50s by people from Fairbanks who now undoubtedly are the majority users of that resource. The law says you can't focus on the users and you can't focus on community uses. You have to look at the long-term, historical, customary, and traditional use of the fish, and there can be no question that the fish in Chitina, just as that same fish passed through Cordova, as the same fish going to the Glen Ellen Subdistrict, have customary and traditionally been used for subsistence, particularly in the Chitina area where they've been customarily taken by Dipnet. In closing, the pictures here that are attached I believe, to PC 17. And this is in the subsistence division materials. It shows an aught and a girl dip netting on a platform in Chitina, taken, I believe, in the late 1800s, early 1900s. And this on the cover of RC7 is a picture of a modern-day dip netter. And I asked the board when deliberating Proposal 201 to tell us what the difference is in these two pictures and define for us.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Board members, questions? Thanks a lot for your testimony. Richard? Yep.